Hello and welcome to today's A-Team Group webinar on adding cloud to your high-performance trading infrastructure. My name is Sarah Underwood. I'm an editor here at A-Team Group and I'll be moderating the webinar. Our expert speakers today are Ben Newton, Associate Partner at Synchron, Habib Sheikh, Director and Global Head of High Performance Low Latency Electronic Trading Infrastructure at Credit Suisse, and Leon Yang, Director of Feeds Business Development at ICE Data Services. I'll ask them all to introduce themselves in a few minutes, but first just a few prompts for you as you are watching the webinar. To the right of the video, you'll see a box for questions and polls. We'll be running 3 polls through the webinar, so please do vote and help us gauge industry opinion on the topics we're talking about. And I'll let you know when the polls are coming up. The other half of the panel is for your questions, so please put them there whenever you want to. We'll take them as we go along so as not to lose them. So questions frequently and often are very welcome. Okay, enough of me, and let's get back to our speakers. Ben, tell me a little bit about your interest here.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Ben. Long felt that I've been born in financial services and raised in the cloud. That's certainly a tangent of my interests. But my mission is really to drive expertise out of experts. That's where I get off, and I'm really delighted to be able to have such a great company behind me, some really smart people with some great thoughts around cloud migration and high performance trading. So yeah, excited.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. And over to you, Habib. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Habib Sheikh. I head Credit Suisse's high performance, low latency electronic trading infrastructure team. I've been with the firm for over 24 years, leading various roles in technology infrastructure. I was also engaged in the build out of the first private on-premise hypervisor environment in 2006. So definitely looking forward for today's discussion and this very interesting topic that we're all going through. Thank you.
Excellent. And over to you, Leon.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Leon Liang. I'm based out of Hong Kong, so it's a weird time for me to join. I run the market data business development at ICE Data Service. I cover the APAC business. So very happy to be here today and really looking forward to share with the audience and the speakers.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Before we actually start with the Q&A, let me post or ask for an audience poll question, our first poll question to be posted, please. The question is, to what extent has your organization added cloud to high performance trading infrastructure? So while you select your answer, let me come to Leon to set the scene and talk a little bit about the extent to which financial institutions have added cloud to high performance trading infrastructure. Leon.
Sure. Thanks for the first questions. From ICE perspective, I think we do see the trend of FSI industry migrate more of their mission critical system over to the clouds, including the platforms of trading and quant. Actually, you can also see from different angles. If you see the trend of those trading system vendor, many of them actually start offering cloud-based solutions. And also like vendors like us, data service vendors, we come up with new products and platforms that deliver low latency real-time market data into the cloud to meet our customer needs. So the trend is very clear. If you look at ICE, we launch our cloud-based historical data product called ICE Data Vault, IDV, around 3 years ago. And roughly around the same time, we offer our Cloud Connect program, which enable us to deliver our real-time market data into most of the public clouds out there. And since the launch, we see increasing number of users and different use cases, actually, especially for the real-time market data in the cloud. So far, we actually count over 65 deals in the last 2 years. So the North American actually leading the ways, and Europe and APAC's customer are catching up in the last 18 months. So you can see there's a trend. People are using the real-time market data and they care about latency, and they have different use cases in the cloud, from terminal, mobile device displaying all the way to trading. I mean, if this question is about ultra low latency, high frequency type of trading use cases, I my view is it's not there yet, because it really depends on the cloud location, where the venue, where the cloud is located. Is it close to the venue? Is close to the data vendor's accessing point? I mean, to me, the prop trading, the HFT, it's still very proprietary, right? It's still the user use a lot of capex, invest heavily in the co-location and proximities these days. But I might be wrong. I mean, till yesterday, I saw the news that ICE actually partnered with BRICS Group, which provide cloud computing in the exchange co-location. So this might be a new trend.
Okay.
I mean, people need to explore.
Okay, let's come to Habib as a practitioner. Would you agree with Leon, or do you see more cloud moving into high performance trading, or more high performance trading, I should say, moving into cloud? How do you see it as a practitioner?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to concur with Leon. I think there is definitely, growth that needs to be done. We can fully appreciate cloud adoption and high performance ecosystem has always been a stretched and challenging task, right? Especially comes to low latency product, ultra low latency. It's not easy because as you want to capitalize the most from the overall resources that you have. At the same time, financial institutions have been, adding products in the, high performance products and services into cloud out there. Depends on the type of product services, such as, risk calculation engines concerns, your data analytics products concern, market data, instrumentation platforms. Matter of fact, I think a lot of the providers, the vendors that, deal in that space for instrumentation are providing more and more cloud-based solutions as opposed to having on-premise kind of solutions out there. Comes to, I think, the and also non-low latency applications, right? I mean, there are trading applications that can be hosted on the cloud. Depends on really what you want to get out of it, right? So, but there's still a lot more work needs to be done, and I think we'll definitely discuss more into later when some of these folks who talk about having low latency on cloud, what this really means. Are we really talking about kind of the capacity, the resourcing, everything else? I think that's definitely, I think there's more maturity that needs to be done. We are still in early stages at this time.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Please may we see the results of the poll and see where everybody is. Well, Habib, would you like to comment on that? That looks like quite a few people are doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the adoption of services. It's definitely something easy, reduce the overall TCO cost, time to market, elasticity. I think on-demand capacity, the way we want to transfer our services, the product, and the developing. That's using AI, ML, PaaS, SaaS, the list goes on. So I think definitely some of those are key drivers that everyone is looking to really go towards. But it depends on what product and service you're looking at.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much indeed. And staying with you, Habib, you mentioned drivers. What are the drivers of adding cloud to high performance trading? What are people hoping to achieve here?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the overall kind of cost, right, that's kind of one of the more core element. Everyone looks at TCO and they want to see basically how we can be more optimal. So that's obviously remains one of the big pieces, but also time to market, right? I mean, we want to deliver faster, quicker. So that's, cloud does provide the capability out there. Waiting for a bare metal server or ecosystem that's within network itself is not something they can do overnight. There's a lot of planning that goes in there. Whereas, over here you can, spin up and bring up, engines pretty quickly. Again, the capacity, and overall, I think the adoption of service much easier, quicker, on the cloud, and the services are being the bottom line is being transferred, being driven, and being delivered more quicker. I think comes to analytic platform, as I mentioned earlier, some of the AIs and MLs models can be done quicker on the cloud out there. Again, I'm talking about the easy services that can be done, that have been done. The challenge will still remain really on the low latency. How do you get the most out of it?
Okay, we'll certainly come back to that. But so Leon, meantime, what do you see as the drivers for this kind of trend?
Yeah, my view over, in general, I think the environment changes, right, in recent years. the pandemic definitely drives the cloud adoption. This is no kidding. That we have customer who actually approach us, ask for cloud solutions, even though we're not a cloud providers. And when we ask why, I mean, apparently they want to automate some of the process and mitigate their operational risk. So they really impact, and they see this probably is the future. Another very interesting finding is the system vendors, the trading system vendors, and they're moving to the clouds, and they somehow drive the user, which is the banks, the sell side, to adopt this trend, right? Willing or not. We do have some conversation with the system vendors and asking their cloud, strategy, and no surprise, the TCO definitely come out of that list. But very interesting, they mentioned lack of talents, especially when their footprint is growing across multiple regions. It's really hard to find talents to support their infra, support assistance, more or less because the cloud provider actually get all the talents from the market. This is true. Like when we talk to one of our customers, financial customers, their senior management and also their technical people are moving to the cloud providers these days. I guess last drive probably is the regulation environment changed. I'm not saying that they give green lights, but they probably have clear guidelines to tell the financial companies what to do, what's not, right? That actually helps to move to the cloud a little bit.
Okay, so plenty encouraging people to get to the cloud, and bringing you in here then, Ben, how best can firms implement cloud in response to these kinds of drivers, and what sort of cloud environment is the sort of best? There is no best, but typically useful.
Sure, thank you. I guess we talked about cloud as an enabler. That's, it's a given. It should be about cost. It should be about agility. It should be about functionality. Of course, moving to SaaS, all of that is obvious. I think the poll gives us a clue that we're on our way. As an industry, we're reaching adolescence maybe, and so it's time to talk about some more interesting topics. Maybe that is customized hypervisors. I've got some great testing smashing out on AWS Nitro. That's looking really good. Maybe it's to talk about more advanced ways of using the spot market. Multi-region, trying to optimize your SKUs. All of that is sensible. It's great to see the big CSPs talking about multicast as well. So, I am delighted to see the first wave of AWS and GCP implementing multicast, which is exciting. But I think we should talk about it later on when we talk about challenges. We have seen some real heavy issues from noisy neighbors. So, there's progress, but as we get better, we start to notice new issues. I would say, as the industry is reaching adolescence, it's probably one other element to bring in here, which is about carbon. I think that we should, when we're in the process of trying to assess the technology platforms we want, we should make carbon a part of that decision. Just like we to understand the cost of what we're rolling out, we should probably also understand. I've got to give a good shout out to Aaron Booth, a fantastic guy doing public cloud for public good. Really great series of and blogs, who's for me a bit of a pioneer in this space, and has shone a light on some of the great work that companies like AWS and GCP are doing with their calculators. I think they're probably at the beginning of their journey, but why don't we all take a little action to go away and see what carbon footprint our favorite project has got on the books? I think some of the information is it's at the beginning, it's rudimentary, but it can be tremendously powerful already. And if we are in the process of migrating apps or starting up new technology, let's make that one of the primary considerations.
Okay, that's great. Leon, coming over to you, how best can people do this? What sort of environment are they setting up?
Yeah, if we focus on trading systems for those trading firm, financial firm migrate to the cloud, I think there's a couple of points they need to focus. But I think Ben mentioned one point is very interesting, is the carbon. that I didn't think of. I think is a really great idea. The other point I think is, traditionally when people migrate to the cloud, they're using computing and storage, facilities, technology over the cloud. But for trading, for financial firms, they need to consider more. There are a lot of more offering in the cloud. For example, in AWS, you have a whole suite of data management, data analysis platform, QuickSight, Athena, Glue you can use to query the data. And also the monitoring part in the cloud is really powerful, like the CloudWatch in AWS, like using the tool to monitor latency throughout your trading process, understand the bottleneck. That's critical, but that's sometimes overlooked in the deploy environment. Another part from data vendor point of view, another really important part is you need to understand your market data needs when you migrate to the cloud, right? Whether the cloud environment can support the market data you are using, whether the performance it's up to the standard, whether the cloud provider can provide critical link. For example, AWS use direct connects to connect to the VPCs, or private link if you're receiving data within the clouds. Those are challenge points. Oh, and also if you are if you are analyzing large volume of data, you also need to consider the data gravity issue within the cloud, right? Where should your trading application or algo box reside within the cloud? And where's the big data? Where's the large volume of the data within the cloud? Those are, factors you need very careful design. I think the last part, maybe for most of the trading firms, the critical point is the compliance and internal audit issue. Like these days, some of the data might not be able to put on the cloud due to the compliance or internal audit. So having a hybrid environment, meaning that you can put your data sensitive platform or data services in your private cloud and still enjoying some of the cloud service. Many of the public cloud provider offering that type of hybrid environments, like AWS, Outpost, Stack from Azure. So be able to use that architecture is, I think, is one of the key in your cloud design.
Okay, that's a lot to think about. And let's, before we ask our next audience question, which is, what are the challenges of adding cloud to high performance trading infrastructure at your organization? So you can tick as many of the boxes as are appropriate to you on this one. And while you do that, let me come over to Habib to talk about the limitations and challenges of adding a cloud to low latency high performance trading infrastructure. Really a focus on low latency on this one.
Sure. So the major limitation towards latency-centric services is really towards moving workloads to cloud, which is really looking for sub-microsecond kind of type, latencies out there. They are generally placed on bare metal, right? I mean, you have, systems, you have network products out there, you have different layers that, if you look at the kind of microcosm of all these systems that kind of go through. So gaining that, the latency is not an easy thing, right? Despite tremendous innovative efforts of having this, this capability and capitalizing, end of the day, you have to capitalize from the most of the cores, which still remains a huge challenge. I mean, it's great that some of the cloud providers can provide an FPGA solutions or other low latency services on cloud, but what does it really mean, though, right? I mean, as we say, well, this and that pretty much being done in cloud. I mean, are we really looking at overall, systems that pretty much just getting all the services, everything else on a cloud base? Or do you have, let's say, a services that based in, let's say, certain colos or venues when you have a cloud provider has, let's say, their capability and they provide you connectivity or they provide you a solution. To me, that's not really cloud solution. That's still basically, a bare metal solution or a similar solution that is being based out of at a certain location where they have a service, right? It's no different than, let's say, a service provider that gives you services. I think there's still more work that needs to be done in this space. On the other hand, yes, when it comes to products like, instrumentation and the engines and analytics out there, I think there's definitely no questions there. As far as challenges, I think scalability, time to market is still, remains an issue. The complexity of integration, all the security challenges, your regulations, requirements, still remain the top challenge, right? Let alone capitalizing from the resources that you have that you can get out of the bare metal and provide that to your clients out there.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. And Ben, what would you say here in terms of achieving low latency in your infrastructure?
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's a great little overview. I would dig into two particular elements. I talk about observability as a really important component of that. Monitor, re-architect, optimize, all of this stuff we can gain huge amounts of pace with. But I would also add just one other component to that, which is about time monitoring and time management. I think we've got a huge amount of respect for AWS and GCP's work in there. Their time networks are better than any enterprise data center that I've worked in. It also means that trading in the cloud from a regulatory perspective is trivial, very, very easy to achieve for everything but HFT. And there's only a small amount of specialist kit that's needed for HFT. Got to put a big shout out to Clockwork.io, some really excellent technology to nail that one down. But it's curious for me, probably wouldn't even be worth a foot point unless time was actually a bit of an enabler. I see it as a huge enabler because it allows us to see where machines are bandwidth and CPU starved. I had no idea that when I buy a machine with a 10 gig NIC in the cloud, that often it does not give you 10 gigs of throughput. That was a complete surprise to me, and it really blew me away. The only way you can really see that is with incredibly accurate clocks and synchronization, which is going well. But for me, that journey also led to an understanding that VM co-location is typically a bad idea. It certainly needs to be tested out, particularly in platforms like Azure, where it's pretty horrific. So for me, observability is core, time is useful, and it's a real enabler to see what's really going on under the covers.
Okay, lovely. Thank you both. And let's see what our audience has to say in terms of the challenges. Leon, would you like to comment on the troubles that people are having?
Yeah, when I look at the question, I think 1 and 2, A and B, are quite related, actually. So you got complex trading infrastructure, and if no one knows how to do it, had a knowledge over the trading infrastructure and also the cloud infrastructure, you are going nowhere, basically, right? So no doubt the first two had most of the votes. Right? I think that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. And carrying on from there, Leon, besides those challenges, how do you see the challenges? We've came across skills earlier, but what do you see as the additional challenges that firms are facing here?
Yeah, we're talking about delivering low latency to market data in cloud. As Ben and Happy just mentioned, the performance of cloud computing and storage and all that, I have confidence, in cloud for those points, like the hardware and infra, the bare metals. I think they have the pocket to spend, to improve, to add more CPU power, whatever that is. And I don't think bandwidth will be an issue because most of the cloud providers these days, they don't charge ingress market data into the cloud. They charge heavily for egress data, but they normally don't charge market data into the cloud. So the main challenge, I think, is still the latency, as people mentioned. That actually combines two parts of latencies. The first part is the latency to aggregated data, sourcing the data, aggregated data. And the second part is the latency of distribution, right? The aggregation and sourcing, that's how the data vendor source the data from the exchange, and then combine all those data points, data from different exchange into their real-time streaming data, right? That relates to the architecture, the coding, the software, all that. And I think that's somehow the easy part, but also costs a lot of money. That's CapEx for data vendor as well, right? Yeah. The distribution, again, another CapEx investment That's the network delivery. For a data vendor, you need to have a very fast and resilient global network to deliver your data. And the ticker plans, then where would you create that ticker plan to aggregate the data, and also the data access point. So at what location you want to create a data access point. Would you have data access point close to the cloud access center? Those are questions, challenge for cloud providers, for data vendors. And for clients, for financial clients, when they think about having the low latency market data into the cloud, location is also a very important question they should ask themselves, right? Where should they put their system? Even though it's a cloud, but there are different locations, right? Should they put the location close to their business, close to their trading venue, close to their data vendor access point? Those are the design architecture they should think about it. And also this is a reason, one key point is, are they looking at cloud agnostic data vendor solutions? Because we see these days big banks, maybe like Credit Suisse, but we do see big banks adopting multi-cloud solutions. They will put different systems over the different public clouds, and those systems all require real-time market data. So how can you solve that problem? Is your data vendor able to deliver real-time market data into different public clouds? Those are questions, and you need to answer, you need to solve.
Okay, thank you. And Ben, what would you add there in terms of the challenges? We touched on it earlier, but sort of summing those up.
Good point. I mean, I've got to underline the resource issue. That is a pertinent pain for us. I think I've spent some time trying to work with the team to understand the various different SKUs that they're rolling out to as well. I think there's a lot to optimize there. We mentioned multicast and time. The only other thing that I would add that is a challenge for us is where Kubernetes fits in. Of course, it's taking over in many different places. That should be acknowledged. I actually just been doing some really exciting work trying to figure out Kubernetes' role within our world, but also the container OS that should pin that down. It turns out that the received wisdom that I got when I started in the cloud world, a decade ago, was that Alpine was the only answer. Turns out that 10, 15 years on, it's not great. It's not great, and certainly in some of our tests, we're showing it to be 60% slower than other container OSs like Google's Distroless. So for me, that was a huge eye opener, and along our journey of being able to optimize Kubernetes for high performance trading, that's definitely a big ticket item. Just curiously, in our testing, there's almost no difference in startup time for the container OS. And we're starting to get excited about being able to use spot type scenarios or serverless type scenarios that start up in real time. So, there's definitely some pros that are coming out of our testing, and there's definitely some dragons to watch out for.
Okay, fine. Let's come to the question of what the vendors should be doing. And let's, Leon, you've mentioned a few things there. Can you just kind of sum them up? How should the role of cloud providers, what should their role be in supporting high performance trading infrastructure? As you say, there are hybrids of all sorts. What should their role be?
Yeah, I think from the perspective of infrastructure, data security, and also the expertise. I mean, those points, cloud provider can definitely support, onboarding more trading use case, right? Because they are investing a lot in those areas. I mean, that unfortunately means they need to put a lot of money, a lot of CapEx investment. But I think the good thing is the major public cloud provider they are rich enough. They have money to spend on those. And if you look at connectivity, low latency connectivity these days, I think most of the cloud provider already have a solution. I already mentioned AWS Direct Connect or Private Link. They can offer direct connect to customers' VPC from outside or from inside, right? And also hybrid cloud environment. And I did mention that the outposts from AWS and Stacks, those are very key points for low latency trading, ultra low latency trading these days, right? You can put your data sensitive, latency sensitive platform in your private, data center, but still enjoying some of the cloud service that the public cloud can offer, right? I didn't mention the news announcement yesterday. The Beaks Group, that's one of the example. They provide colocation cloud computing. That's something new, and for me, it's very interesting. I might just look into that and see how that developed. But I think if the public cloud provider wants to move into the ultra low latency space, they will need to work very closely with the exchange, with colocation providers, and see how they can offer their service in that environment.
Okay. Again, back to you, Habib, as the practitioner amongst us. What would you like to see from the cloud providers?
Sure. So I think the biggest advantage cloud providers have, they have the use cases, the visibility of various financial institutions, be it broker dealers, your hedge funds, your high frequency firms, what they're doing, what they need, basically. So the good thing is they have the data, they have the use cases, they have been doing, work over this, depending on, how far you want to go back, and either them or exchanges, this can be well over a decade, that the work's being done. So I think the good thing is that they have pretty much a lot of the raw cases that they've been working on building solution around that. I think they also aware the limitation and challenges that comes with that. I think what you can do in venues and close to exchanges, and what kind of solution you can provide, yes, capacity, bandwidth, everything is available, they can provide, but at the same time, what does that mean? What kind of workloads are you putting in there? Are you talking about instrumentation platforms, or your smart order routers, on and on? I think that there's more work that needs to be done. Placing hybrid solution in local venues is definitely a good start. I think that's kind of there is work being done. At the same time, I think complexity of the trading ecosystems that we have, it's not simple. The microcosm is pretty vast out there, and I think capitalizing it's something that they'll need to continue to work with all the different partners they have in the financial institutions.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Let's take a quick break for some audience questions. I say quick, we have quite a few, but let's see how many we can get through. Ben, I'm going to come to you with this one first, because you're in Europe. Mostly it mentions MiFID II. And it says, latency has been mentioned quite a few times now. What challenges would be envisaged by putting feeds and market data into the cloud and ensuring that MiFID II compliance can be maintained, especially for maintaining it and reporting at the required traceable time?
Nice. Definitely a specialist subject of mine, so something I care about deeply, and something I've done some quite extensive testing in. So our testing shows that all three cloud vendors are more than capable of achieving the 1 millisecond time accuracy or granularity requirements. So that's great. I mean, there are some caveats to that. When you move physical machines, or in the unlikely event that a physical machine move happens, that will knock your time out. So we've been talking about kill switches for a while now. I think they're definitely useful. I would add just one more thing. So getting used to the time requirements in the cloud just requires to set up some monitoring. And that is not difficult. In fact, it's pretty trivial. By default, the OSs will come with some degree of insight already, and that can be made better. Maybe that's Crony, maybe that's Clockwork.io. Depends on your requirements, but I think that they are absolutely achievable, and it is my considered opinion. My testing has shown, and the opinion of many of my peers, that this is not a blocker. I know it's perceived to be, but I would love to investigate any degree of testing which shows there is actually an issue here.
Okay.
So, testing shows fine. I can't see an issue.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And Habib, coming to you on something we've talked about a lot, and it says, would you say that lack of capacity, resources, specialist skills, and desired timelines are factors which contribute towards companies which have not yet implemented cloud services? Are those the barriers, do you think, or is something else going on?
No, I think those are the key. That definitely those are some, core. I think skill sets definitely there. Capacity, the overall, the maturity of the product itself. I think all those are some of the core components, which is why keeping us where we are.
Okay, and Leon, one for you. The topmost concern in investing in cloud services is security issues in cloud computing. It is because your data gets stored and processed by a third-party vendor and you cannot see it. I think it's quite asking, is it, not it is. Is it because you can't see it and it's third-party stored and processed? Is that why security is such an issue?
Well, you definitely can see it. I don't know what platforms or what kind of application we're talking about, but I think data security is the top requirement for public cloud vendors, and they all claim to have some very secure, environment to store the data. I think last year, recently, there's a FINRAC guideline on cloud computing. I believe the major cloud provider all, publish similar study over how they can, be compliant with the guidelines. And of course, there are different, ISO guidelines like 27001, 27017. I think most of the cloud provider will have that, certification. So I'm not really worried about the data security, but probably more on the compliance and some of the data, the reg or internal audit might not willing to put on the public cloud. So that's the hybrid cloud solution actually come in place.
Okay, lovely. I'm going to ask you each one more. We might have skipped some of my questions, but these are interesting. And back to you, Habib, this one. How does the panel view public versus private cloud options when Azure can and has gone down? And this one has a second bit too, but could you answer that one first?
Sure. Public versus private, how it's gone down. Yeah, I think there's definitely a move towards public. I mean, hybrid is still there. I think, but public is definitely, as these cloud providers are providing better solutions and capacity and all the resourcing. There is definitely transition, especially if you look at SaaS and kind of PaaS solutions out there. More and more instrumentation platforms that we discussed. I think it was discussed earlier as well. They are going to private out there. You don't need to have on-premise solutions deliver. But then it comes to again, are you a broker dealer? Are you a high frequency firm? Are you exchanges? They're all different rules, and you have to abide by them, right? So I think the regulations are remain a big part of it. Basically, what you can do on public versus private, and kind of and you have to kind of find the best solution that you want to do.
Right. The second part of this one, Habib, which is slightly different, says if the entire platform can't be put into the cloud, say trading and market data, how can that be justified given the inherent latency between data centers? So I guess it's saying, how can you justify only doing half the job?
I mean, it's a hybrid solution is something that's definitely doable. You duly determine, what goes where. I mean, you can still have, let's say, a hypervisor and your application on top of that do not really require a true low latency components there. I mean, you can definitely get into hybrid ecosystem and definitely, you can have a data engines running on your, hypervisor and connect them to your bare metal services. I think it's very much possible.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And Leon, back to you. And this one asks, sorry, there's so many I'm sifting through them. Now this one asks, there we go. What sort of contracts and SLAs should we be looking for from cloud providers?
Let me text my friends here. I'm pretty sure all the cloud providers will have their SLA over data security and uptime connectivities. But I just don't have a straight answer to that one.
Okay.
I think I think the audience try to ask them whether they provide certain level of SLAs and guarantees over the delivery or performance. I think definitely yes.
Right, you've got to push them. Okay, fine. And a last one for you, Ben, which you may be able to help with. It asks, how can we connect with other participants to discuss the ongoing issues and potential solutions here? Are there organizations that are kind of open to everyone?
That is a really good idea. I guess what organizations do I go to? I think, I'm ever excited by KubeCon as an organization, and the CNCF. Like, that is a real shining light for me. I think they're doing some really great work in subjects that perhaps related, like supply chain security, for example. So I think those are excellent bodies to get involved in. I'm curious from the panel, what else do you see that helps in the industry?
Yeah, where can people chat about these things if they're not on a webinar with us? Any ideas? No? Okay. Thanks for that then. Thank you all for your questions, and thank you to our speakers for their answers. And I'm going to ask what I thought was the $1 million question, but I now think it's not. And it is. And I'm going to come to Ben first. Is it feasible, or will it be in future, to run complete high-performance trading infrastructure in the cloud?
Geez, I'm so aggressive on this. I've been banging the drum for years. I think we've got to learn from our peers in the crypto world, for all of the pain seen in that space lately. They have been pioneering in this space. There are thousands of crypto exchanges that are already live completely in the cloud. So why not? What stops us? We've already talked a little bit about regulation, and I can't see any blockers there that aren't insurmountable. I actually think that it does require us to have a bit of a step change in what we want. Do we want just exactly the same that we've got on-prem, just in the cloud? That seems to be missing an opportunity. I think there are real market opportunities. And so let's think about some of the pains of the world at the moment. Like, I don't want to set up another POP or a new market. That is just a horrible thing to do. If I don't have to deal with lease lines again in my life, that would be great. And so I think this is our move. This is our opportunity to reduce the amount of pain that people feel, lower the barriers of entry. Because if we're not going to do it, then our competitors probably will. I would also say that that's down to us. I think that we deal with many business people that sometimes take these decisions for the organization. And actually, we as technologists are the people that can see opportunities. We can see these market opportunities in front of us. Maybe that's BigQuery or Spanner. Maybe that's driving out somewhere else. And let's take let's take some lessons for some other experts that are doing it in the crypto space. They've already got things like market data aggregators. CCXT, I'm involved in. Love those guys. They have a market data aggregator that's already smashing 100 different exchanges, 130 different exchanges. I mean, they are light years ahead of what I see in the rest of our mainstream industry. I would say that there is one thing that we should all be cautious of. It's almost 10 years to the day since Knight Capital went down from running some test code in production. And so with great power comes great responsibility. I'm never going to stop it. I'm never going to stop the progress. I'm always going to be aggressive in driving forward. But let's just be cautious of that and increase the amount of control while we're increasing the amount of
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you. And Habib, will you be taking an entire trading infrastructure into the cloud anytime soon?
Depends. As Ben mentioned, depends on kind of the services. Comes to fintechs, blockchains, cryptos. I think adoption itself is definitely different than comes to exchanges and broker dealers. There are different requirements, different regulations out there. Nothing's impossible. Definitely, I think that there are lessons learned that can be applied. I think, but there's still challenges out there. Comes to really looking at the the type of products in execution services and your FX and other products out there. I think there is more work that needs to be done before we can get there. I think there's still more time and to be fully mature and get into these kind of institutions at this point.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to that.
Definitely, yes. Like we have banks running completely over cloud now.
Right.
So why not trading system? I'm pretty sure it would do.
Okay, great, excellent. Hopefully we'll be able to follow up that at a later occasion, perhaps during another webinar sometime. Leon, let me just come back to you. Can you just provide us please with step-by-step guidance on how to approach and implement and optimize cloud for high-performance trading? What key steps must you take?
Yep. I think there are definitely a couple of points if you want to move to the cloud for your high performance trading. From data vendor point of view, definitely need to look at your data requirement first. Right? When you move on to the cloud, is your current data requirement can be met in your cloud environment, right? Both real-time and static. That's a very straightforward question. I guess secondly is the location, where you want to be located in the cloud. I mean, a lot of people actually ignore that question because they thought cloud is everywhere, but actually no. Like if you look at, if you want to be on AWS and your business in London, and probably will put your VPC, at, close to your business venue, or you're trading certain exchange, you're trading LME, you're trading New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, you want to put your cloud close to that trading venue, right? And also consider where is your data vendor asset center. Those locations are critical in your cloud journey as well. I think thirdly, you need to really map your infrastructure, what's been using in your deploy environment. We mentioned a lot of bare metal, but when that translated into the cloud environment, what that means, any extra services you want to use. We do mention not just the computing and storage services in the cloud these days, but do you want to use the AI ML function? Do you want to use the data monitoring? Do you want to use data analytics platform providing over the cloud? You want to completely transform your system using container technology, as Ben mentioned, right? Those are infra mapping. And I think the last one is the cost consideration, TCO considerations. When you compare the cost from different public clouds, this is from my experience. Sometimes the immediate cost can be confusing because some of the cloud providers, they provide credits on different things, like they provide you 20% credits if you successfully migrate to the cloud, or they provide certain credits over using certain services. Those need to be considered as well. So the TCO, not just the once-off price they show you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. That's very helpful indeed. Okay, we haven't got a lot of time left, but let's run our last poll question. And again, you can answer, I think, as many of the options as you like, because the question is, what are the benefits of adding cloud to high-performance trading infrastructure? While you do that, Ben, what are the benefits of getting it right and the penalties of getting it wrong?
A good question. So, I mean, we talked about lowering the barriers of entry. We talked about the peers in the industry that are doing a great job. We talked about how to get control of it. I guess I would add a couple of sort of points to close that question off, which is firstly around observability. I know we've mentioned it, but I feel it is one of the number one drivers that's needed at the moment, especially in my clients. Monitor, observe, optimize. That's my mantra. Start off every day with it. I love running red team work and trying to break things apart, doing little chaos and breaking things and helping people get to grips with what's going on. It helps not just their uptime, but also the performance as well. I think my final closing comment about that, how to really get it right, is to just acknowledge that I love the feeling of weightlessness in the cloud. I love being able to spin services up left, right, and center and make anything exciting and fast. But I think we all need to ground that with the feeling of the carbon footprint of the platform. Sometimes it can be easy. We talked so many times today about placement, of course, critical. It was not that long ago I realized that actually placement has a huge impact on the carbon footprint of the services. For example, in GCP, some of the services have a percent or even less of the carbon footprint of the other regions and other data centers. So I think understanding the carbon footprint is something that is incredibly important. But also, we all need to do that. We need to be shouting at our CSPs and all of our SaaS service providers to build that into the contract, to be able to show us what's going on, to be able to give us the feeling that things are going in the right direction and that we can all make sensible choices to minimize the damage. So yeah, those are my things.
Thank you. Habib, what would you say in terms of the benefits of getting it right and what goes wrong when it goes wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to segue, right? I mean, ESG definitely remains the big part of it. I mean, I think we all, in certain capacity, that's one of the drivers we are trying to push, and how do we minimize and help with the carbon footprint? There's no doubt about that. I think overall comes to capability on providing faster services, API build out quicker there, faster customer services, your overall agility on how you market various products out there. ROI, I think all of these are some of the core benefits that that we can definitely capitalize from. And I mean, if bottom line is, if you get it wrong, I mean, it's a lesson learned. You definitely lose a competitive edge, but I think it's a lesson learned, and you kind of come back with the with the better solution.
Okay, thank you. Let's see those poll results if we may. And Ben, a very quick comment. Thank you.
Wow, scalability number one. Wow, sounds like platforms like Kubernetes are going to be important. Although I wonder if that does mean scalability in terms of resources or space.
Okay.
CapEx is a nice driver as well. Of course, that is something that we see exploding in all kinds of different dimensions too. So yeah, I recognize these.
Okay, lovely. And as Abir says, if you don't get it right, competitive advantage will go down and down and down. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to ask all of you to provide some advice for practitioners working on adding cloud to high performance trading infrastructure. We obviously talked a lot about it today, so let's sort of sum up with some advice. Leon, would you go first, please?
Sure. I mean, definitely the first one is understand your data requirements. I think it's very important. I keep mentioning it. The second one, I would say you need to fully leverage the cloud services, because today there's so many services for financial industry to help you achieve your cloud strategy. The third one, I think you need to look at the ecosystem in the cloud for financial service, because these days a lot of cloud provide that ecosystem, no matter is data or platform. Those partners in the cloud definitely can help you speed up your either development or lower your cost.
Okay, thank you. Abir, what guidance would you offer?
Sure, and I think being realistic, knowing that there are the rules to physics, and also technology, has it's a ever growing space there. So I think where we stand today, just knowing kind of our ground level, be patient as well. I think things will come in slowly. So staying patient and kind of be it placement or kind of the solutions out there, the maturity. And stay obviously hungry and innovative, right? That's kind of we're in technology is a passionate, is a beautiful field that it has pretty much no sky, right? So definitely stay hungry and innovative.
Lovely. A few words from you, Ben.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up and incredibly interesting discussions. My three takeaway points would be: we all know that re-architecture is the goal. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier. But no matter what or when your interest in re-architecture emerges, I think observability is the right place to start data-driven decisions. That for me is the first and most important goal. Typified by my comments about time as an enabler. I never thought that it would actually be a competitive advantage to be able to synchronize my machines accurately, but it turns out that it actually offers a huge view on some unexpected things. Secondly, looking for new market opportunities. That for me is the most exciting thing at the moment, looking for where we can be able to contribute things back to the CSPs to be able to drive new revenue streams, lower barriers to entry. That is pivotal, and it has begun, and I'm really excited about it. And then the final point is to drive carbon. My takeaway, my offer, my request to everybody is to look at it, just to treat it seriously. It's beautiful when I am able to select one service over another because it has a vastly lower carbon footprint. That to me is absolutely beautiful, and it can mean that we could empower this migration to the cloud with lower carbon footprints in general, which is brilliant across the board.
Okay, that would be some achievement, and I hope everybody's listening carefully. So thank you, Ben, and thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their expertise and experience. Thank you to ICE Data Services for sponsoring today's webinar. Before we close, just a few A-Team Group items that may be of interest to you. If you scroll down your screen to additional options, you can sign up for our October webinar on meeting the challenges of regulatory change. You can take a look at A-Team Connect, our professional platform that you can use to deliver highly effective and interactive events and webinars. And you can download A-Team's Trading Regulations Handbook 2022. It's a good look-up book, and we have some others like that, which you'll find on the website. So that said, that's it for today. Thank you again to Leon, Habib and Ben, and thank you to all of you who have taken part in the webinar. Please complete our feedback form, as we're always keen to hear your views and improve our products. Meantime, thanks again and goodbye.